Hello, my name is Jaeyoung Jeon, and I am currently a master student at KAIST. I would like to explain the paper titled Semantic Diversity Aware Prototype-Based Learning for Unbiased Scene Graph Generation. Before diving into detail of this paper, I would like to briefly explain what scene graph generation is. The goal of scene graph generation is to predict the relationship between objects within an image and generate a structured graph as shown in the figure below. In this process, objects are typically detected using a pre-trained detector, and predicting the predicate between two objects is the key task in scene graph generation. Datasets used for scene graph generation have three main characteristics. First is semantic overlap in predicates, where the predicates used to represent the relationship may overlap in meaning. Second, there is single predicate annotation, meaning each relationship is annotated with only one predicate. Lastly, there is an imbalance in predicate distribution. Due to these three characteristics, we can observe certain issues. For example, consider the relationship between fruit tree and tire bike. Because of characteristic 2 and 3, these relationships are usually labeled with single head class predicate on. However, even though both relationships use the predicate on, they actually have different underlying meanings. Additionally, characteristic 1 suggests that there are more appropriate predicate than predicate on to represent this relationship. Unfortunately, models trained predominantly on predicate on fail to distinguish between the relationship fruit tree and tire bike. They just predict both relationships simply as on. Based on this observation, we define semantic diversity as the idea that single predicate can represent diverse semantics, and we aim to solve this issue. Recognizing semantic diversity is crucial in scene graph generation because it allows us to differentiate between relationships that use the same predicate but have different underlying meanings. For example, we can represent fruit on tree more accurately as fruit growing on tree, and tire on bike as tire attached to bike. This approach can help us find more appropriate predicate for each relationship. To address this, we propose semantic diversity aware prototype-based learning method. Our DPL is divided into three main parts: prototype-based bias training, and semantic diversity learning, and unbiased inference step. This section describes the process of obtaining the relation feature and prototype. To obtain the relation feature for the triplet, we first need to extract the feature of objects in the image through the proposal generation and object class prediction stage. After that, the feature for the subject-object pair is created by combining the subject, object, and union features. The obtained relation feature is then passed through a layer to transform it into a d-dimensional vector. The prototype corresponding to each predicate is set as a learnable feature. After creating the relation feature and prototype corresponding to each predicate, learning is based on the distance between the prototype and the relation feature, where the closer the distance, the higher the probability of that class being selected. As a result, as shown in the image on the right, relation features tend to cluster toward the head class on, which has many labels. However, it is important to note that just because a relation feature is near the on class, it does not mean that the relationship can only be represented by on. There are reasons where more appropriate predicate can be used to represent the relationship. In other words, a single predicate can represent multiple semantics, and it is insufficient to express this diversity using only one point. Therefore, to understand the range each predicate can actually represent, we assume a Gaussian distribution around each prototype and generate samples from it. These samples are trained using sample matching rules to ensure that they fully cover the semantic space, representing the full range of meanings that predicate can express. To prevent unexpected overlap during training caused by the symmetricity nature of the Gaussian distribution, we introduce orthogonal rules. Finally, during inference, to reflect the semantic diversity information learned during the training, we replace the Euclidean distance-based prediction with a normalized distance-based prediction. At this stage, to mitigate the effect caused by the change in the scale of the distance, we introduce a factor A prime. These are the results from experiments conducted on visual genome dataset. We observed significant performance improvement in both minicore and F-score. Next, we conducted an ablation study on hyperparameters. We observed that as n increases, recall also increases, indicating that more samples are needed for head class predicate to capture the semantic diversity. In the case of R, performance decreased when it was either too large or too small, suggesting that an appropriate value for R is necessary for optimal performance. Next is the ablation study on each component of DPL. Through this study, we can observe that training the model will only cross-centrally lead to bias training, and additionally, both orthogonal loss and matching loss do not fully prevent bias training. However, performing unbiased inference based on the learned variance is crucial, and reducing unexpected overlap through orthogonal loss also has significant impact. This is the visualization result. On the left, the points represent relation features, and we can see that they are all clustered near the prototype on. However, it is important to note that not only the relation feature annotated as on are present, but also those annotated as riding or walking on also clustered around prototype on. This shows that due to the semantic diversity of predicate on, relationships that could be represented by other predicates are also biased toward prototype on. However, through semantic diversity learning, we were able to learn the appropriate range. When visualizing the samples, we can see that even the area near on, prototype on, they cover the regions related to riding and walking on. The semantic diversity discussed in this paper is closely related to multi-level nature of predicates. As a result, when observing the predicted distribution, the model does not predict only one predicate, but rather it is able to predict multiple possible predicates that can express the given relationship. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening.